New Jersey, connecting faith and life, and you're watching Real Faith TV!
Subtweeting is when you tweet about someone but you don't mention their name, so like you're just constantly like talking about them but you don't like at them, you don't at their Twitter name, so they don't know who you're talking about, but they really do because it's implied in the tweet.
Since the subtweet is indirect, the victim may not even realize that they have been subtweeted, but if they do find out, the victim can feel very embarrassed and ashamed.
I've seen subtweets before, and sometimes we don't know who they're about.
It's like passive aggressive. So just for an example, that car had a really bad parking job, and after just like, oh snap, shots fired, because we all know who the person is, we just don't see their name.
I think people subtweet because they want to express how they feel, but they don't want to actually mention the person or tell them in person because they're scared of how they might react or feel about their feelings.
Some people who wouldn't be bullies in real life are able to hide behind a phone or a computer screen, and it's a lot easier for them to make fun of someone.
I think people subtweet to feel more powerful over the victim and to get more attention from their Twitter followers.
I do think it's a problem that needs to be addressed because people should just be upfront and tell the person how they feel instead of having to go to social media and express how they feel.
I have seen subtweets on Twitter. There's not much you can do to stop it because honestly you can't tell for sure that it's them that they're subtweeting.
For people who face cyberbullying or subtweets, I think it's just important that they stay confident in who they are and that they stay close to their friends and their family who treat them right, because they shouldn't let the opinions of other people bring them down.
We're so used to communicating with people through technology, and it's just the norm in our society, so people think it's easier just to say hurtful things online.
I do think it needs to be stopped because it's hurting people and just bringing them down as a person.
I have a friend who was hurt by a subtweet, and to me there was just really no point to it because it was very disrespectful and very blatant, and the tweet was very explicit and the language was very, very foul.
I did stand up for someone in a subtweeted conversation. I saw that my friend was being hurt and I got involved by just saying that to stop being so immature over social media and does it need to be shown over social media, and it did. They ended up talking personally, just texting and resolving the fight.
My advice is just to not let it get to you because it's just people hiding behind a screen thinking that they're more powerful than you and better than you, and just to believe in yourself because in the eyes of God, you are beautiful.
You know, my friend just bailed on me for the third time in a row. I hate it when people can't keep their commitments.
My girlfriend and I just had a big fight. I need to tweet this. Women, I will never understand their emotions.
These are all examples of subtweeting, which can be defined as
indirectly tweeting a message to or about someone without using their name, usually through Twitter.
Because these tweets are public and can be viewed by hundreds of friends and followers, the person being targeted is meant to feel embarrassed, maybe even humiliated.
It can even take the form of cyberbullying.
So, as Catholics, how are we called to confront the hurtful nature of subtweeting?
Subtweeting, a new form of bullying. That's what we'll be talking about today. Hi everyone, I'm Mike.
And I'm Corey.
And this is Real Faith TV. We'd like to thank the students of Bishop George R. High School in Edison, New Jersey for helping us open the show today.
And for sharing their views on what subtweeting is and how it can be used to gang up on or cyberbully victims.
We'll talk with them throughout the show as part of our wild card segments.
But first, let's meet our spotlight guest, Hannah, who will share with us her understanding of subtweeting,
as well as her thoughts on how Jesus would respond to this type of bullying.
My understanding of subtweeting is either there is a situation with another person and they are not tagged and their name is not mentioned and they tweet about the situation, or there's another tweet and the person's name will be in the tweet talking about that person. The person doesn't know that this tweet is being sent out until they see it or somebody tells them about it. There's also, whole accounts on Twitter just dedicated to retweeting subtweets about other people. Nasty, nasty subtweets. Usually subtweeting is mean, like bullying, and I think they do it because maybe they have certain feelings about a person that they translate into anger, and then that anger just turns to straight up being nasty, and then subtweeting happens. Subtweeting definitely needs to be addressed because usually most of the time subtweeting doesn't just end at subtweeting. It usually turns into direct bullying on the internet, and sometimes even worse, it'll go farther. So it definitely is a problem. I don't even have Twitter anymore or anything like that, so I just cut it out of my life because there's so much needless drama. What I think Jesus would say on this whole cyberbullying, bullying issue is he taught us to love our neighbor as we love ourselves. So, I don't think Jesus would want anybody to be mean to another person. I think he's very, disappointed. It's just not a Christ-like act. It's not virtuous in any way. It's bringing people down. It's degrading them. It's bringing down their self-esteem. It's making them feel inferior. Makes them feel awful about themselves, and it could have long-term effects, and Christ doesn't want that for us.
I think Hannah definitely brought up a good point, how, it starts as subtweeting and then it could turn into cyberbullying or bullying in real life, and I think that some people just don't understand that.
I think you're right. I think we need to be very conscious of our actions. Well, let's see what our studio guests have to say about this topic.
Okay, they are Desiree,
John,
Kelly,
Danny,
Michael,
and Monique. Have you ever subtweeted, and why? How did it make you feel?
I think when I was a freshman, I developed wanting to fit in, and I started subtweeting to try and get people to notice me, hey, I'm being mean to this person, why don't we be friends? Even though I was being mean to that person, those people were making fun of what I was saying, so it backfired on me, and then I felt like how that person that was getting bullied felt like, and I didn't like it, so I just stopped.
I don't recall ever subtweeting, but I have been, I guess what you call it, sub-Instagrammed. I was scrolling through the comments and they were all about me. And I'm not kidding you, there were about 70 comments and all of them were just picking out my flaws and making fun of me. And it was really hurtful because I hadn't really done anything for them to say that about me, but they just, I don't know why they felt the need to do that.
I know there's a girl at my school, and a lot of kids aren't nice to her, and she doesn't realize that they are being mean to her, so they'll say things about her on Twitter, and she obviously doesn't know that they're talking about her. It got to a point, Hannah said they would make separate accounts for this purpose, and they made an account about her. It's just upsetting.
For me personally, I've never really subtweeted, but I've heard about these things happening, and it's really not a joking manner. I feel we all have flaws, and I don't think it's okay to just point out everyone else's flaws just because you might feel a little insecure about yourself.
Yeah, I think that subtweeting, that's kind of what the problem is that, some people, they want to fit in or they want to seem funny to other kids because, hey, we're all just going to pick on this one person. I mean, they use that as entertainment, but I don't think they fully understand, what you're doing. You are damaging that person's psyche, and I think people need to understand that it's a serious problem. It's not just a joke. Subtweeting may sound like a harmless form of entertainment, but there are many destructive issues associated with it.
Subtweeting hurts the person you are talking about. You may cause them emotional distress or damage.
Subtweeting spreads personal information that other people don't need to know.
In many cases, it provides a forum for people to gang up on the person being talked about and opens the door to harassment.
Subtweeting also can cause anxiety for those who follow you, as they may wonder if you're talking about them.
There's nothing positive that comes from subtweeting. Its only aim is to attack and ridicule.
So why do people do it? Unfortunately, it is seen as socially acceptable behavior.
It provides a passive-aggressive way to vent.
It allows the aggressor to garner the support and sympathy of others, and most of all, get their attention.
While subtweeting wasn't something that was available in Jesus' time, we should always look to his example when confronted with a hurtful subtweet.
Jesus is no stranger to standing up for the oppressed and marginalized, and he calls us to do the same, whether out in the open or online.
Let's meet our first wildcard guest, Katie, a student at Bishop George R. High School.
We asked her, what do you think Jesus would say about the issue of subtweeting?
Let's meet her now.
Well, Jesus is all about love, and unfortunately, subtweeting, there is no love in the act of subtweeting. It's all hate, and he would definitely not condone that. He teaches us to love our neighbor as ourselves. So he would tell the person subtweeting the victim, yo, why aren't you loving this person? Like, try and work it out face to face, because if you rely on just viewing printed words and not talking face to face to somebody, you can get the wrong idea. So he would say, settle your differences face to face. It's only human to make mistakes and misinterpret things. So I'm pretty sure that's what he'd say, because, you know, he's a pretty cool dude.
Jesus is a pretty cool dude. To understand how Jesus would deal with this sort of situation, we must look to the Gospels to see how he handled hurt and disappointment.
Probably the most compelling example is Jesus on the cross, where he spoke out to God the Father.
Jesus responded to the hurt and pain with prayer and forgiveness. Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do.
We can follow this example by taking our disappointments and anger to prayer before responding on social media or even in person.
Let's go back to our spotlight guest, Hannah, where she'll share how an argument with a friend led to being publicly humiliated through subtweeting.
And how this episode escalated into full-on harassment and bullying over different social media networks.
Personally, I had an experience which started out with a subtweet about me. Somebody I used to be friends with, we had a little argument and she decided to tweet about it without tagging me. It was a rather mean tweet, and then she got more specific, started using my name. The subtweeting went to actual harassment where other people got involved. They would call me and they would text me these nasty, awful things, and they would Skype me. This went on for an entire summer. It was awful. Some of the things they would say about me were about my appearance, or they'd just call me nasty, awful names that I'm not going to go into. I had been bullied before in school, so they would attack me about that and say it was my fault. They would just simply call me to make me cry or just try to ruin my day. It got to the point where they even made vines about me, mocking me and what I was saying in response to them, and it was rough. It was a rough experience. I felt alone. I felt helpless. I felt like it was never going to stop, because being bullied on the internet might be worse than getting bullied in person, because being bullied in person, you can tell the principal, you can tell your parents, they can talk to the kids, they can talk to the kids' parents. But being bullied on the internet, it doesn't just stop. That person just has to keep seeing, and then more people see it, and it's out in the cyber world forever. And you know, all these people are asking you what's going on, and you don't want to talk about it. You just want it to go away, and it doesn't go away. I felt so helpless, and I wanted it to end, but I didn't know how to put a stop to it. So I told my mom about it, and I tried to tell them to stop, but they just wouldn't listen, and it just seemed like they had this driving, like, want to ruin my summer.
So what do you think prompts people to harass or cyberbully others via social media or Twitter?
If like that person did something to you, to like kind of get revenge back at them, so like a quick subtweet.
They feel less powerful in person, but online they feel so powerful because that person can't see their face.
I think a lot of time what plays into it is jealousy. I know in my 8th grade year, I got the lead in the school play, so that didn't help the fact that the kids who already were bullying me were started to bully me even more because they were jealous of that. So I know the harassment started to get a lot worse.
You know, I find it strange how people have this sense of confidence when they're talking about people online, because in person, like, if someone talks about you or says something, it's just hearsay. You can go to an adult or like someone in charge and be like, oh, like, they said this about me, but there's like no physical proof. So like when you write something online, your words are recorded and documented and they stay there forever. And I don't know how you could have that much confidence in what you say, in that you can just put it out there and talk mean about people online like that.
I think people do it because like they put bad things online, or like they bully people because they want that feeling of being wanted that they don't really get. I guess they don't get a lot.
Yeah, what I think too is, because I know I grew up, playing games online and stuff, so I think we don't always think that, these are real people with real feelings that could get hurt. We think, oh, it's a game, it's fun.
And also I think that the popular kids you were talking about, they probably don't know what it's like to be subtweeted, because either they're always the one subtweeting or nobody's going to talk bad about the popular kids. And that's what, like how you said, when it backfires on you, then you realize this is wrong. But I think some people, that never happens to them. Someone needs to stand up and tell them this is wrong. You shouldn't be subtweeting.
As Catholics, we are always encouraged to address problems through the relationship, face to face, heart to heart.
Subtweeting is the exact opposite of this. It truly is a form of gossip, spreading information about others that's just not necessary. Before we post anything negative, especially if it's about someone, stop and think, how would I feel if somebody posted this about me?
Next, Hannah explains how Twitter and other social media outlets are easy portals for young people to vent their frustrations.
And how she looks to Jesus' example when confronting this type of cyberbullying.
I think the reason that so many people in our generation use Twitter and social media as a way to be mean to others is because it's an easy, it's like a easy portal almost. Like you can go on Twitter while you're doing your homework. You can go on Twitter while you're on your phone and you can say anything you want at any given time. Some of the emotions could be anger, jealousy, just prompting them to just want to make somebody miserable. And I think social media can be either really great, because it can be used in so many positive aspects, but with this generation it seems to be more often than not that it's used in a negative way for bullying. Like I said before, there's accounts dedicated to talking about other people and retweeting subtweets. With my friends' experiences, I know the bullies got in trouble. They had their accounts, they had to delete them. Their parents got involved. But with my situation, the consequences on her end just seemed to be non-existent from her parents, probably because I was so passive. And, when you're being cyberbullied, you should definitely do something about it, but you shouldn't be hostile towards the person who's bullying you. You should not retaliate. You should not subtweet back. You should not bully back. That's not going to do anything. Jesus says, turn the other cheek. But turning the other cheek doesn't necessarily mean just keep getting abused. Do not be passive about it. Do something about it with respect towards the other person. I think Jesus, if he witnessed somebody being cyberbullied, would step in immediately. Immediately, no doubt about it. Step in, tell the other part, the bully, to cut it out. He wouldn't be passive. He would put an end to it.
Yeah, I definitely think that Hannah's right about how, you still have to be respectful to your cyberbully, but at the same time, you can't just be passive. You never know, they might just continue. So I think be aggressive, but be respectful, and that's definitely something that Jesus would do. Now, let's meet our next wildcard guest from Bishop George R. High School, Matilda, who will share how she caused herself trouble when she engaged in subtweeting to vent at anger towards her friend.
Let's check it out.
Me and my friend Justin were texting, and we were planning to meet up in New York. And whenever he told me he was someplace, when I got there, he would disappear and not go to that place. So I subtweeted him saying, "You're so immature and childish," and he texted me saying, "You don't have to post that on Twitter. You don't have to post your personal life on Twitter and subtweet me, and we got into a fight. We resolved it by going face to face and working things out, and we just talked about it. And the lesson here is you don't have to put your personal life on Twitter for everybody to see, and you could always just talk it out with your friends.
Subtweeting, no matter our intention, harms the dignity of those we choose to tease.
Poking fun at someone for their dress, hair, voice, talents, or lack thereof tears down the self-esteem of others.
Instead, we're asked to encourage one another and build each other up, like St. Paul wrote in his letter to the Thessalonians.
Imagine using social media to compliment others rather than tease and torment them.
Social media should help connect us, not disconnect.
Next, Hannah describes the perils of subtweeting and the very real emotional damage that it causes to its victims.
And how, from her experience, she has stood up for others facing bullying and harassment.
Once you start cyberbullying and a bunch of people hop in and it's a whole group of people, it's like almost like an army. And they will attack the person on the internet, and then they'll get all this confidence up and be like, you know, I can do this on the internet. Why don't we all get together, do this to the victim in person? What are the authoritative figures gonna do? It's harder to discipline a group than just one person, and I think they know that. I personally have not subtweeted about anybody. I would never, ever be mean to somebody on the internet or in person. You know, bullying is wrong. It's 100% wrong. I have stood up for people who have been bullied on the internet, but in person, because usually, like I said, it will escalate. And the situations I've seen, it went from just being on the internet to becoming in-person bullying. So I've stood up for them that way and helped the victim figure out ways to put an end to it, tell the parents, supporting other people. My advice to anybody being cyberbullied or bullied in general, do not be passive about it. I know it's scary. I know it's intimidating to think, I need to put an end to it. This person's being mean to me. They're saying this, and this about me. I know it brings down your self-esteem. I know it's the most lonely feeling. You feel helpless. But you have to think about that you can't let this keep happening to you. You need to put an end to it before it gets to the point of no return. You need to tell your parents. You need to tell the other person's parents. And just pray, because you're not alone. Jesus is with you. He is holding you up. He loves you so much, and you can do it.
It's important to remember that we are all called to forgive, as St. Paul wrote in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 4.
Be kind to one another, tender-hearted, forgiving one another, as God, in Christ, forgave you.
It is in prayer that we will remember that whoever hurt us is made in God's image and likeness, and therefore deserves to be treated with dignity and respect. Let's talk about a better way to uphold both people's dignity.
Subtweeting is not the answer.
Finally, Hannah shares how her faith has helped guide her through the process of moving on after being the victim of a hurtful subtweet.
And how she found healing in prayer and Eucharistic adoration.
I know a Bible passage. I don't have it memorized, but it's in Corinthians, and it says, "Fear not and be courageous," and that Jesus is with you through all of the hardships that you're facing, and that it's basically saying you're not alone. Jesus is suffering right with you, and he's there for you, and he's holding you up. I don't think you can prevent it. I mean, it's inevitable that there's going to be people that are just nasty, mean-willed people who want to bring down others. I think prayer is essential in surviving this world in general. I pray every day, but when I was being bullied and cyberbullied, going to adoration always helped, and saying the rosary more than one a day always helped, and just talking to Jesus. Having a one-on-one conversation with him, having that, intimate moment with Christ. You can feel him if you just open your heart to him. and you pray and you just give yourself to Jesus, He will guide you through anything. You know, a specific moment when I was going through this rough time, I was in adoration. I was like, you know, Lord, please help me. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to handle this. And I was so alone and so vulnerable, and I felt like nobody cared. And it was just me and Jesus. And I was in the Adoration Chapel, and I just felt this warmth, this beautiful, beautiful, holy warmth come over me. It was almost like a hug from Jesus, you know? It felt like it was the happiest moment I'd experienced, and I just felt Him. I felt Him saying, it's gonna be okay, and I love you, and I'm here for you. I just felt it on my heart. And anybody can experience that. You just have to open yourself up and just trust that God has a plan for you.
I think Hannah brought up some really great points. I know her personally. When I was going through my period of bullying, I remember she was telling me the exact same thing. And after watching her really take that to heart, I actually had the same experience that she did in a recent retreat that I went to. Having a prayer life, especially going through something like that, is extremely important.
I know for me, when I can't form words on how to like help someone or make someone feel better, I just send them like a picture with that quote that I wanted to say, but I didn't want to butcher it. And I do that a lot. Like, you can ask my friends, if you go through our group chats, there's just pictures from me instead of words.
Like you said, a picture or a quote from the Bible or something is a really good way also to express your feelings.
Something that Hannah said she really struggled with was being passive. And I think that's something our faith can help us, you know, try to find that balance between, you know, passive and being respectful to that person, but not letting ourselves get walked over and not just taking the damage. You know, we can pray and talk to God and like find that balance between, okay, I don't want to start more damage, but I don't want it to keep getting hurt myself.
To use social media responsibly and positively, let's ask for the grace.
When others hurt us, let God give us the courage to confront them directly rather than online.
When we are tempted to tease someone, help us to stop and think about how it would feel to be teased.
We hope to encourage others and uphold the dignity of our friends, both online and in person.
So how can you help to prevent subtweeting and cyberbullying?
We'd love to hear from you.
Contact us at realfaithtv.com.
Or share your thoughts with us on Twitter.
And we'll leave you today with this passage from the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 31.
Be strong and courageous. Do not fear or be in dread of them.
For it is the Lord your God who goes with you.
He will not leave you or forsake you.
Thanks for watching.
We'll see you next time on
Real Faith TV. God bless.